Hey Dynamos, today I'm back to finish the end of Trapped by the Ice. Finally, after 17 days at sea, young McCarthy shouted, "Land ho!" South Georgia Island lay dimly ahead. The whaling station was on the other side of the island, but the men had to land now or they would die. Their fresh water was gone, and they were too weak to battle the sea to the other side of the island. While the men planned their landing attempt, they were hit by the worst hurricane they had ever encountered. For 9 terrible hours, they fought to keep afloat. Miraculously, just as things looked hopeless, the sea calmed enough to allow the boat to land safely on the rocky beach of Hacken Bay. The men landed near a small cave with a freshwater spring nearby. The cave would become the temporary home for John Vincent and Chippy McNish. Both had suffered too much on the voyage and could not survive the long hike across the island to the whaling station. Tim McCarthy stayed behind to take care of the 2 sick men. Fortunately, water for drinking, wood from old shipwrecks for fire, and albatross eggs and seals to eat meant those who stayed behind would be all right while waiting for their rescue. But Shack, Big Tom, and Skipper Worsley would have to climb over a series of jagged ridges that cut the island in half like a saw blade. All they could carry was a little Primus stove, fuel for 6 meals, 50 feet of rope, and an ice axe. Their only food consisted of biscuits and light rations that hung in socks around their necks. On their 8th day ashore, May 18th, it was time to set off on the most dangerous climb they had ever attempted. Three times the men struggled up the mountains, only to find the terrain was impassable on the other side. That means that they couldn't get over that way and had to start again. The men stopped only to eat a soup called hoosh, to nibble on stale biscuits, or to nap 5 minutes, with each man taking a turn awake so there would be someone to wake the others. On and on the exhausted men hiked. From the top of one mountain, they saw that night was coming fast. Being caught on a peak at night meant dying. They had to make a dangerous decision. Shack assembled a sled from the coiled-up rope, and the men slid 1,500 feet down the mountain in one big slide. Despite the scary landing, they couldn't help but laugh with relief when they crashed unhurt into a large snow pile. The men had survived the long slide, but danger still lay ahead. They had been hiking for more than 30 hours now without sleep. Finally, all 3 heard the sound of a far-off whistle. Was it the whaling station? They climbed a ridge and looked down. Yes, there it was. 2 whale-catching boats were docked at the pier. From this distance, the men at the station were the size of ants. Shack fought hard against being too reckless. The 3 still had to lower themselves down a 30-foot waterfall by hanging on their rope and swinging through the icy water. At last, the ragged explorers stumbled toward the station. They had done it. I'm going to do my best. Sorrel, the manager of the whaling station, heard a knock outside his office and opened the door. He looked hard at the ragged clothes and blackened faces of the men who stood before him. Do I know you?" he asked. "I'm Shackleton," came the reply. Tears welled up in Sorrel's eyes as he recognized his old friend's voice. The 3 explorers received a hero's welcome from the whaling crew. The whalers knew that no one had ever done what Shack had accomplished. The next day, Skipper Worsley took a boat and picked up McCarthy, Vincent, and McNish, while Shack began preparations for the Elephant Island rescue. It would take more than 3 months and 4 attempts to break through the winter pack ice and save the stranded men. But Shack finally did it, and without any loss of life. The men were glad to have a ship's deck once again under their feet. Finally, they were going home. And that's the end. See you guys later.